Hey YouTube, welcome back. Today we have this problem called threesome. Add threesome of numbers, not something else. Okay. So given an integer array nums, return all the triples n of I and n of j and n of k, such that I doesn't equal j, I doesn't equals k, and j doesn't equal k. So three different random elements from the array. And nums of I and num of j and nums of k equals 0. It should be when these three numbers when you should collect them together, you will have 0. So for example, if we have this array, we have -1 -1 2, because these numbers, if we add all of them together, we'll have 0. We have -1 0 1, that we have 0. And for this one, if we add all of the numbers, we cannot get 0, so we return an empty array. So let's think about this problem, because it's a quite important one, because there's a lot of good multiple solutions, and I guess I will do more than one video for this specific problem. So let's just start to think about this one. So there is one way that we can just loop in the first one, and after that, after looping, we loop again against all of the other variable, all of the other elements, and after that we loop again a nested one in the other to the third one. So we have at least 3 nested loops. So I guess it will be O of n tripled. And this is way more awful. Like, this is really awful. And maybe you can find a way to make it O of n squared, because n squared is not a good solution, but it could solve the problem. So we can use two things. We can use a hash set or a 2-pointer. For this one, I will use 2-pointer. The next video it will be a hash set. So let's just think about how we can solve it with the 2-pointer. Okay, so in the 2-pointer, first of all, we solved this one. We solved this array. So it will be -1, -1. No, sorry. It will be, I guess, -4. And -1 and -1 and 0 and 1 and 2. And after sorting the array, we will do the following. First of all, we loop against each one, and instead of looping 2 times more, we'll loop again and creating 2 pointers. Like, let's say as the key is this one I. So we loop and we have 2 pointer k and j, and we just try to compare these numbers j and k with I, and just to collect all of them. And when they are equals to 0, we'll add them to a result array, for example. And why the way that we are sorting it? Because, for example, if we are just adding this I, let's say that this is I, and this is j, for example, and this is k. So when you try to sort all of them, maybe if the number is bigger than 0, I guess if the number bigger than 0, that means that we should take 1 from the right, because it's sorted. So that means let's take 1 from the right. So we have one of the next number will be less than the bigger number. So maybe we can reach 0. So this is why the sorting will help us. So let's just start in the code. So in the code, we will say let for example, first of all, we sort. So I'll say nums dot sort. It will be a and b, and it will be a minus b. Okay, this way we are sorting it. So I will create a res array, and I will return this res. Okay, and this array represents for result, and I will loop through the nums. So for let I equals 0, I less than nums dot length, and also okay, this is quite important, and nums of I less than or equals 0, and I plus plus. And we took y, we will talk again why nums of I is less than or equal 0. You will try to understand why we put this specific condition. So we will just, okay, so I will tell you directly. If I is positive, we don't need to loop through through I. So I need just to get 0 and any minus values, negative values. So negative values, we add them upwards, positive values, so we get 0. So if it's positive, there is no need to loop through the through them. So I'll say if I equals 0 or nums of I minus 1 doesn't equals nums of I will say I will create a function. So basically, if nums equals 0 or nums of I doesn't equals nums of minus 1 as the previous one doesn't equals I, we call a specific function. I know it looks quite weird with this one, specifically with this one, like this if statements, but just be aware with me for a second. I will call a function called toSum, and I will send it to the nums, the res, and the I, and I'll create the function. I will call it toSum, and it takes the nums, the I, the res. Okay, and okay, let's just start here. So first of all, before go to this function, so I'm saying if I equals 0, okay, all nums of I minus 1 doesn't equals nums of I. So if because we want to get different numbers, because if, let's say for example, if nums of I equals nums of I, if both of them equals each other, they will not add up to 0. This is a thing, they will not add up to 0. So I just want to make sure that it doesn't equals each other. And the second thing, if nums of I equals to 0, because if we are in the, like, this will be exception for the first element. For the first element, we just send it, we could just call the function. In the next elements, we want to make sure that it doesn't at least equals its previous ones. I guess this was clear. I hope this was clear. So let's start. So by doing this one, let's just do this. So this, okay, so what we should do right now we have I and we have nums and we have res. So we have to find the two different numbers. So first of all, let's have number called right, or let's call it high, because this one will represent as a high value. The high, and high equals nums the length minus 1, because it's sorted. The high will the bigger value will be all the time the value in the end. And we have let low, and this one will equals nums the length. This one equals I plus 1. Okay, so because of that, if the nums of I doesn't equal nums of I minus 1, because if they equals each other, again for this one there is no need to loop, because we loop it once with nums of I minus 1. This is the thing, and also they will not add up to 0. So let's just create a while loop, and I will say while low is smaller than high. So I will say, okay, so I will create a variable called sum, and sum will equals nums of I added to nums of low added to nums of high. Okay, and when we add these numbers, we have three conditions. First of all, the first condition, if the sum is smaller than 0. If sum is smaller than 0, that means the variable is too low. So we just increase low by 1. That means that when you increase low by 1, because it's a sorted array, the next numbers are bigger than the current low. If the number is bigger than 0, we will decrease high by 1. Otherwise, that means we got 0. So let's just if sum smaller than 0, I will say low plus plus. I will say else if sum bigger than 0, I will say high minus minus. Else, that means we equal 0. So I will say res dot push nums of I, and wait a minute, it's array nums of I, and nums of low. Well, this one will be minus minus because we want to get the specific index, and it will be okay. So I would say nums of low and nums of high. Okay, so we're pushing it. Oh no, sorry. We're pushing it, and after that we should go to, maybe we have more numbers or more values to loop through. So I will say low plus plus and high minus minus, and I will do something else. I'll say while low is smaller than high, and nums of low is equals nums of low minus 1, because we don't want to have any duplications. Low plus plus. Okay, if you understand this one, if you understand this condition, I guess you will understand this condition, because both of them are the same. We don't want to have the same one. And yeah, that's it. Let's just submit. Later, please. It's beating 9-1. Okay, so let's just talk about this one. So first of all, we have the rest. So let's just take this one as an example. So first of all, we start on the first one, and starting from the first one, you will say, okay, so we looping through. We sort it first. So we start. Well, it will be -4. It will be like it will be exactly like this specifically, and you start from -4, and you start to loop against each one. And when you loop against each one, you send the specific index, and the specific index we do an additional while loop. In this while loop, we have 2 pointers, one called high and one called low, and these ones represent the indexes of the two numbers that should find the indexes of the two numbers that should, when we add them to the number of the index I, add up to 0. So we had some, and when we had some nums of I plus nums of low and nums of high, we have three conditions. It's equal 0, it's bigger than 0, it's smaller than 0. It's equals to 0, we put it to the array, and after that also maybe we'll try to loop again, because maybe you could find another number. And after updating low and high in the new values, we will just do a new thing, which will be, we want to make sure that all the numbers are different, because of that, I'm saying that, okay, if the current low, it's equals to the previous low, so let's just go low by 1, because they shouldn't it should be like some sort of because we looped through it before, so there's no need to loop through it again, you know what I mean? So yeah, basically that was it. I hope my instructions quite good. I hope my instructions quite easy to be understood, And that's it for this video, and hope and see you in future problems.